This is where we're at, man. We have devolved so much as a society that the same media that will tell you that they love, they promote, and they protect democracy are the same media that will tell you that anyone who has a different vision for the country than what we see right now, anyone who dares defy the DNC and run for president, is only doing it because they secretly love Donald Trump, who, of course, is an evil, greedy racist who is going to destroy democracy.
People talk about the threat to democracy that Trump poses. Do you really think that is an equal evil to Biden?
I mean, listen, I can make the argument that President Biden is a much worse threat to democracy. And the reason for that is President Biden is the first candidate in history, the first president in history that has used the federal agencies to censor political speech, so to censor his opponent. I can say that because I just won a case in the Federal Court of Appeals and now before the Supreme Court. It shows that he started censoring not just me. 37 hours after he took the oath of office, he was censoring me. No president in the country has ever done that. The greatest threat to democracy is not somebody who questions election returns, but a president of the United States who used the power of his office to force the social media companies, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, to open a portal and give access to that portal to the FBI, to the CIA, to the IRS, to CISA, to NIH, to censor his political critics. President Biden, for the first president in history, to use his power over the Secret Service to deny Secret Service protection to one of his political opponents for political reasons. He's weaponizing the federal agencies. Those are really critical threats to democracy.
Just think about that for just a second, man. RFK just told the CNN audience that Joe Biden is a threat that has been trying to personally censor him for years. And it's not just some RFK crackpot anti-vax whack jobbery, which is what the left would like you to believe anytime you see RFK. The man has got the wins in court to prove it. And he can also prove that he personally has been denied the Secret Service protection. And to all that, the state-approved spin doctor hears all that and just says, but Donald Trump. That's just amazing to me, man. Even as much as we see it, even when we know that it's coming, even though we know that they have no other play, right? That's all they got. It's still amazing, man. And it's not amazing that they do it. It's amazing that it continues to work on these victimized audiences, man, that these networks depend on. That is the amazing part. But here's what they're trying to do. Here's why they even risked bringing this guy on the network. They want you to believe that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is somehow in league with Donald Trump, who they already expect you to believe is basically the Antichrist. And if they can get you to believe both of those things, then they know that they can count on you to just hold your nose and vote blue no matter who. And here's the thing. He's not going to fall for it. They are not going to make him say whatever it is that they want him to say. And the guy is absolutely freaking right. He was censored, and he wasn't the only one. And it really shouldn't, it's not some big secret by now. It should not be a secret, at least. They told us they were doing it years ago. They literally told us.
This is a big issue of misinformation, specifically on the pandemic. In terms of actions, Alex, that we have taken, or we're working to take, I should say, from the federal government, we've increased disinformation research and tracking within the Surgeon General's office. We're flagging problematic posts for Facebook that spread disinformation. We're working with doctors and medical professionals to connect to connected medical experts who are popular with their audiences with accurate information and boost trusted content. So we're helping get trusted content out there, providing for Facebook or other platforms to measure and publicly share the impact of misinformation on their platform and the audience it's reaching. Also with the public, with all of you, to create robust enforcement strategies that bridge their properties and provide transparency about rules. You shouldn't be banned from one platform and not others for providing misinformation.
And that was 3 years ago. And that is still probably the greatest quiet part out loud video in history. It should have been an aha moment. That should have been played every single day until people finally understood. And it should be brought up to Propaganda Jen every time someone goes on her worthless show, right? It should have been a wake-up call. It still can be a wake-up call. And really, it's proof, man, that above all things, you always get what you vote for. And, the left, they like to say about Republicans, when they tell you who they are, believe them. And they're usually talking about the bloodbath thing and whatever. But that doesn't apply to RFK Jr., of course. He's going to tell you that he cares about civil liberties. He's going to tell you that he cares about the environment. And he's going to tell you that he cares about his own family's liberal legacy. But no, they don't want you to believe that. He's just a tool for Donald Trump. Because if you're not for Joe Biden, then you're not for democracy.
Donald Trump, of course, tried to overturn a free and fair election. He tried to overturn one, right? He's still fighting in court.
Yes.
How is that not a threat to democracy?
Well, I think that is a threat to democracy. If him trying to overthrow the election clearly is a threat to democracy. But the question was, who is a worse threat to democracy? And what I would say is, I'm not going to answer that question, but I can argue that President Biden is, because the First Amendment, Aaron, is the most important. Adams and Hamilton and Madison said, we put the guarantee of freedom of expression in the First Amendment because all of our other constitutional rights depend on it. If you have a government that can silence its opponent, it has license for any atrocity.
So just to be clear, you're saying you could make an argument that President Biden is a worse threat to democracy than Donald Trump. That's what you just said.
But who else has ever tried to send, what president in history has ever tried to censor political opponents? What president has weaponized?
So RFK Jr., this is a smart guy. This is not a dumb person. He's very, very intelligent. And I'm sure what he was thinking was, no one tried to overthrow democracy. And he was almost about to say it. He said if he tried to do it, but he caught himself. He realized that would just melt too many brains on CNN, right? So he said a very, very smart thing. He said the overthrow of democracy is a very, very serious threat. But that wasn't your question. You asked who was a worse threat to democracy. And that's Joe Biden every time. And he quotes James Madison. James Madison said the guarantee of expression is in the First Amendment because all of our other rights depend on it. And honestly, man, how great is it to hear a former Democrat quoting James Madison? That's probably why he had to leave the party. You're not allowed to quote Madison in the Democrat Party, which is probably true, but pretty awesome stuff. Almost as great as watching Ilhan Omar, of all people, saying that January 6th was not the attempted overthrow of democracy that everyone believes it was. It was unarmed, angry people with no plan, no purpose, and literally it was all over in a matter of hours. And she says it shouldn't be affecting people's civil liberties. And actually, she says it better than I ever could.
Because they recognize that some people did something and that all of us were starting to lose access to our civil liberty.
Can you guys imagine being a leftist? I mean, how difficult must it be to just do as you're told and believe literally everything that is fed to you by only the right people, of course, even when they're completely and totally contradictory, which is most of the time. I mean, everything conflicts with the last thing that you were told to believe, that you were made to believe, that you were demanded to believe. And this is the perfect example. Insane Democrat hero Ilhan Omar says that 9/11 was just some people did something, and they don't have a problem with that. Most of them will probably at least pretend to agree. But January 6th, a mostly peaceful riot, just like the entire Summer of Love, is an existential threat to democracy and must be memorialized as a fake progressive holiday for all time. I mean, it's amazing. And these people, these are powerful people, man. People actually listen to these people. And like I said, man, I'm not surprised. I really don't expect anything different. But I still honestly just cannot believe that it is. But that's just my take, guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you haven't already, be a part of our growth. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Most importantly, share the channel. I'll see you in the next one.